Hello there, welcome to the Saroy channel, wherever you are in the world, and so much love to each and every one of you. I do hope you're doing remarkably well. I'm doing fabulous, thank you very much, and I'm so delighted you've joined me for part 2 of our story. And we started this story very, very tragically, because a beautiful little girl has died in a swimming pool accident where she drowned. And it's easy to blame other people for what happened or blame yourself. But accidents do happen, and they're very much a part of life. But unfortunately, Jackie, who left the swimming pool gate open, is blaming herself for what happened. And, of course, the 16-year-old girl, Kirsty, who was helping her out with the house. And she'd asked, Kirsty to watch over the swimming pool area to ensure that her daughter didn't wander off into the woods, because at that time she had no idea she'd left the swimming pool gate open. But sadly, her little daughter Lily died. So let's see where the story is going to lead us. But before we do, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Click the notification bell and the thumbs up. And let's continue with part 2 of our story tonight. Jackie Peterson was absolutely devastated by Lily's tragic fortuitous passing. So much so that the beautiful house that she and her husband had built themselves in the Georgian countryside appeared to have lost its gloss. And now Jackie hated that swimming pool where Lily had died so very much that she was determined to get it filled in. But then there was another part of her that couldn't do it, for that swimming pool was where her daughter had breathed her very last, and filling it in might blur the memories of her precious little girl. There were many times Jackie willed herself to die, for many a mother in Jackie's position can easily relate to those hopelessly despair-driven feelings, as the pain of losing a child is unbearable. And Jackie had withdrawn into her shell, so much so that it was impacting her marriage to Bernie, who stood back helplessly, watching his wife wither away in front of his very eyes, like a dying wild flower in the meadow. No wonder they say that after you lose a child in devastating circumstances, the parents of that child very often split up, as if the unbearable pain has torn them both apart. Bernie Peterson didn't want to see that happen to his marriage, as his wife Jackie was his entire world, and without her he knew he'd be lost. He was well aware, of course, of how fragile their marriage had become after Lily's death, but he loved Jackie more than life itself. And yes, there was a small clandestine part of himself that secretly blamed his wife for getting a 16-year-old girl to watch over Lily, even for a few minutes, as surely Jackie knew how easily distracted 16-year-old kids could easily become, with their hormones running rampant all over the place. Bernie reminded himself that accidents invariably happened. People died in burning buildings when someone left the oil on the gas hob by mistake. People were killed in car accidents, in head-on collisions, when drivers weren't paying due attention. Sometimes they were distracted by a call on their cell phone, which drew their attention away from the road. People sometimes died from all kinds of allergic reactions, or from taking the wrong kind of medication. Life was like a rather tumultuous tightrope, and it was easy to lose your balance, especially if you weren't paying attention. There were so many things in life that made people fall off the edge, as sadly all human beings are mortal, and life can be extremely short. Bernie had tried to tell his wife this again and again, on 100 different occasions, to soothe her dreadful guilt that appeared to be eating her up alive from the inside out. "Look, love," he had said to her very tenderly, "even if it meant we had to lose our Lily all over again, I'm very, very glad she came into our lives. She was a God-given gift to us, and I wouldn't have missed those beautiful 3 years for all the world. And if it makes you feel any better, I don't believe it's the end for Lily. I'm quite sure one day when we pass away ourselves, we will be reunited with our girl again." "What do you mean?" Jackie had said, choking back the tears. "I mean our little girl is growing up on the other side, and one day when we pass away, we will be reunited with her again. That's exactly what I was trying to say." "But are you sure?" Jackie had asked him. "Are you sure Lily's spirit is still alive, and it lives on? I want to believe it, Bernie, I really do. But after everything that has happened, even my faith in God has dissipated. How could a loving God ever allow this to happen to us? That's what I ask myself again and again. I'm sure that our little girl's spirit is very much alive, said Bernie. I know it's easy for us to blame God for what happened to Lily, but that would be a futile thing to do. One thing I'm sure about, love, is you can't go on like this anymore. You're living like someone with a terminal disease. It's like you're wasting away before my very eyes. You never eat anything these days. You cry all the time. You're drowning yourself in your sorrows. I don't want to lose my beautiful, precious wife. I mean, what would I be without you? A shadow of my former self. We've lost our little girl, and that has broken our hearts. Of course it has. What has happened is very, very tragic. No one can dispute that for a second. But it was an accident, love, and I need you to remember that. I don't want to lose you as well. It might be better, love, if we went back to Portland and sold this house. You probably don't want to live here any more after Lily's accident. And looking on that pool every day must be doing a number on you. I can understand how you feel. You only have to say the word, and I will put the place on the market at once. I don't want to sell this beautiful house of ours, said Jackie. I hate it, but I love it at the very same time. I hate it because Lily died here, in that swimming pool. But I love this house because it also reminds me of her. I have my memories of her here. If we were to move away, then I would feel we were moving away from our little girl. Sometimes I feel as if she's still around here, running around on the lawn. If we moved away, I don't think I'd feel her presence anymore, and that would make me feel significantly worse than I do now. I understand that, love. We can stay if you like. This is a beautiful home, but you do need to get your act together. It's been a year now, and I know it's very hard on you, but we've got to move on with our lives. We can always try again for another child. I know it's not what you want me to say, but it was a long road for you to get pregnant in the first place with Lily. God willing, I don't see why it can't happen again. But I don't want another child, Bernie. Don't you get that? I want Lily back. That's what I've always wanted, what I've only wanted. I loved her. She was everything to me, Bernie. Jackie burst into tears, sobbing into her husband's shirt until it became soaked. I only want Lily. I know, love, said Bernie tenderly, drawing his wife into his loving embrace and patting her on the back to soothe away her angst. Of course you want Lily back. That's perfectly understandable, and so do I. I couldn't think of anything I'd like more. I'd give anything up in order to have her back, and so would you. But we need to be realistic, love, because it's not going to happen. Our daughter is gone. You need to accept that. She's not coming back, but her indelible memories will remain alive in us. We will never forget our precious little girl. Bernie was at the end of his tether, for Jackie refused any grief counselling. She was permanently withdrawn these days, so the only thing Bernie could do was to pray for a miracle and hope that something would invariably happen to bring normality back to their lives. Their lives had been cruelly ripped apart at the seams, rather like a garment with a hole in it that can never be repaired, as the rip only appears to get progressively worse every time you try to put a band-aid on it. Bernie opened his wallet and handed his wife a card. "What is this?" Jackie had asked, taking the card from her husband and inspecting it closely. "Who is Merrill Franchester? I've never heard of her before. What an unusual name." "She's a psychic medium," said Bernie rather gingerly, wondering if Jackie was about to fly off the handle, like she'd done when he suggested she went for counselling. "I'm told she's very good. I'm not a believer in psychic mediums, but you could go and see her if you like. I was given that card by the butcher in town, would you believe?" "The butcher gave you a card for a psychic medium?" asked Jackie, looking somewhat bemused. "But why would he do that?" Bernie seemed to look rather bashful. He brushed a finger rather awkwardly over his moustache. Something he always did when he felt a tad apprehensive. Well, the other day I popped into the butchery in town to buy some ribeye steaks from him, because since you've been, well, caught up in your grief, as you know, I've done all the shopping and cooking around here. Are you getting at me about that? Is that what this is about, Bernie? Of course I'm not getting at you, Jackie. I'm quite happy to do all the shopping and cooking for you, as long as you like. It's no skin off my nose. And I'm happy to help wherever I can. Well, I'm glad to hear it, Bernie. For a moment I thought you were, well, complaining about me, being caught up in my grief. Of course I'm not complaining. The butcher was asking after you, which I thought was very good of him. He doesn't even know you that well, even though you've been buying meat from him for over the last year. He told me you rarely like his marinated pork chops, and that you were always buying them from him. So he gave me a dozen as a gift to you. Isn't that very thoughtful of him? So everybody knows our business. Is that right, Bernie? Said Jackie, looking mortified. Even the butcher knows about the drowning of little Lily. Don't look like that, Jackie. People in this small, very friendly community care, don't they? It's not like in Portland, where our neighbours didn't even really know us at all. In a small town like this, people talk, don't they? Word gets around fast. Everyone was extremely devastated to hear that we lost Lily in a swimming pool accident, but no one blames you in the slightest. People know it was a tragic accident. A lot of people have been asking after you, Jackie, because you've been avoiding going into town for a year now. People are concerned that they haven't seen your friendly face around the place. Many people have asked if there's anything they can do, Jackie, to lift you out of your melancholia. And the butcher was ever so nice. He remembers a year ago you used to visit him every Tuesday and Thursday. Imagining remembering details like that. It was very generous of him to give us some of his best pork chops, don't you think? I was touched by his kindness. It is very kind of him. And I'm touched as well. But even so, it's none of his business, nor is it the folk in town's business, to go prying in our affairs. Why do people have to interfere like this? Put their noses into our business? Why do they have to be so damn nosy, Bernie? Are their lives so desperately mundane, so boringly miserable, that they get their kicks out of gossiping over other people's lives? I assume the butcher gave you this card on my account, but I'm not interested. I don't know why I'd ever want to go to a psychic anyway. Aren't they supposed to all be charlatans? Maybe they are, said Bernie, shrugging his shoulders nonchalantly. I'm clueless. I don't know anything about psychic mediums at all. Never been to one myself. But the butcher recommends you go. He says you've got nothing to lose, and the experience might lift your spirits. Believe it or not, the butcher's name is Otto Frankfurt, which is quite funny, don't you think? Because frankfurters are German sausages, he said, trying to be humorous. There's nothing funny about that, Bernie, said Jackie sharply. Nothing amusing about his surname at all. Well, even so, he's a very nice man. And like many people in town, Otter is concerned about you, Jackie. He told me his sister Paula lost her 4-year-old boy about 10 years ago. His name was Tommy, I believe. He ran into the middle of the road, and a passing motorist failed to see him and ran him down. Paula knew nothing about it until the police arrived at her front door to tell her that the child that she thought was in his bedroom, playing happily, was actually dead. Paula lives in New York, on a busy street, I'm told, where a lot of cars go flying by, and they still don't know how Tommy got out of the house, or what he was doing in the road in the first place. Anyway, Otter said when Paula came to Georgia to stay with him for a few weeks, she was inconsolable with grief, as you can imagine. She refused to go out, withdrew from the world completely. I gather, rather like you, she blamed herself for not keeping a watch on her son, and still to this day she's at a loss as to how Tommy got out of the house. But she thinks she might have left the kitchen door open for a brief moment when she put the bins out for the weekly collection. That might be when her son went walkabout. Apparently he had this habit of wandering off at times, like kids so often do, and even got lost in a supermarket once. Accidents happen. To the best of us, it would seem. Accidents can be avoided, Bernie, said Jackie stiffly, if people paid more attention to their children. Like if I'd been paying more attention to little Lily, and not trusted a 16-year-old teenager to watch over our girl. She would still be with us. I blame myself for her untimely death. I really do. Don't keep going there, love. Don't keep punishing yourself like this. It isn't helping anyone. The only person you're destroying is yourself. And you're destroying us. Anyway, let me get back to my story. It might make you reconsider visiting the psychic medium. I believe she's very good. You've just said she's very good, Bernie. But I'm not interested. Hear me out, love. I haven't finished telling you Otter's story yet. Otter heard about the psychic medium, and he told Paula to go and see the woman. Anyway, he wasn't a believer in psychics any more than I am, and was extremely doubtful that a visit with the medium would help his sister. But let's just say he'd have moved heaven and earth to get his sister back. She was wandering around the place like a lost, defeated soul in limbo that had no purpose in life anymore. Even her relationship with her husband had become fractured. She'd been for grief counselling, got medication from her doctor, but nothing appeared to be working for her. Otter believed his sister was slipping away from him, like I feel with you sometimes, as after losing little Tommy, she had lost her desire to live. In the end, after much persuasion, Otter's sister decided she had nothing to lose in seeing the psychic medium, and she reckons it was the best thing she did, as it made her come to terms with Tommy's tragic passing. Well, good for her. I'm glad it worked out for her, but I very much doubt going to a psychic medium would work for me. I do understand how she felt, though, because I've lost my will to live as well. Do you know how hard it is for me to get up in the morning, Bernie? Do you have any idea? Sometimes it's so painful, just getting out of bed. I feel so hopelessly lost, as if I'm caught up in a big fog, and I can't see my way through it. I understand that, love, completely. I feel exactly the same way as you do. But I have to go to work every day, and I try my level best not to allow my emotions to drag me down, because I know it's not going to do me any earthly good. And I wish you would do the same. Losing Lily is the hardest thing that has happened in our lives, but we do have to move past this, love, or we will self-destruct. I'm at the point that Otter reached with his sister, where I would do absolutely anything in my power to help you, love. I know you didn't want to go to that counsellor, but a medium might help you connect with little Lily. How about it, love? It might give you some closure, perhaps. I know you mean well, Bernie, and I appreciate your efforts to help me. But I very much doubt a psychic medium could help me connect with little Lily, said Jackie, shaking her head furiously. I doubt that very much. That psychic medium probably makes it all up as she goes along. She probably preys on people's grief like a predator, making them believe they've connected with a lost loved one, when nothing could be further from the truth. It's all a duplicitous Machiavellian scan, so she can make lots of money out of grieving people, like myself. What did Otter's sister have to say about this medium? Let's hear it. I bet she filled her head with utter drivel. Well, I understand this particular medium does not ask for money. She thinks that's the wrong thing to do. But she does appreciate a donation if you're willing to give it to her. Anyway, when it comes to Paula, she was keen to go to the medium in the end, but like you, she remained sceptical. I guess, in a way, she wanted to believe that little Tommy was still very much around on the other side. So that's why she agreed to go to the medium. Otter told me when Paula returned from her visit with the medium, she was like a completely different person, as if a whole weight had been lifted off her shoulders. He said he hadn't seen Paula smiling for a long time. That was 10 years ago, you know. She returned to his house with such a broad grin on her face, and he said after that, from thenceforth, she was able to pick up the pieces of her life. She went on to have 4 other children. Of course, she misses Tommy very much, but she got so much reassurance from the psychic medium, She was told that her son was doing very well on the other side, and was being looked after by her late grandfather. That gave her so much peace. She said the psychic told her things that the psychic couldn't possibly have known, like the name of Tommy's toy soldier, and the name for the pet rabbit they'd adopted. I know going to a medium is against our religious beliefs, but right now I would do anything to help you, love. Why not at least go and see this woman? If she can help you, then I think the woman is doing some good in this world, even if it does go against a religious doctrine. Otter gives the medium all the credit for bringing her sister out of the fog that you find yourself in now. Well, if you think it will help, I will go and see the medium, Jackie said, looking somewhat uncertain, but her demeanour appeared to have softened significantly. Bernie could see a hopeful glint in his wife's eyes, as if she thought the medium might be her last hope to finally see her way ahead. Look, love, I don't want you to get your hopes up. I really don't, only for them to be cruelly crushed. I've never really had much time for mediums and psychics, but let's just say if Otter's sister Paula was transformed by her visit, there's no reason why you shouldn't be too. I mean, what is the worst that could happen? You could probably return home claiming you are still in the fog of your melancholia, or you could return home feeling as if the fog was lifting, and that, in my opinion, is a game changer. I, for one, would like to get the Jackie I love so very much back, and I know she's in there somewhere, so I will do anything I can to help you, even if it means going down some rather unconventional, unorthodox route such as this. How bad can visiting a medium really be, if it brings you peace of mind? I've just told you, Bernie. There's no need to persuade me any more. I told you I'm going to see this woman. If it helped Paula so much, I would be a fool not to go and see the woman. Because you're right. I can't go on like this. Good, I'm glad you're seeing sense. We'll make an appointment for you, love. Jackie was not convinced that going to a psychic medium would be of any help to her. But one thing was certain. She really wanted to believe that her daughter Lily was still very much around. If she could possibly make contact with her daughter through this medium, then maybe some of the heaviness of her guilt and the sense of profound loss she felt might finally lift. Jackie was doubtful that she would experience the same sense of relief that Otter's sister Paula had experienced on her visit to the medium. But it was well worth exploring these uncharted waters, even if it was against her religious convictions. Jackie had decided to go to the psychic medium alone, even though Bernie had offered to accompany her, but she felt that she needed to do this alone. Bernie drove her to the small little cottage on the edge of town. Good luck, love, he said, giving his wife a brief kiss on the cheek. But Jackie remained resolutely seated in the passenger side seat next to her husband, and didn't appear to be in a hurry to get out of the car. I don't know if I can do this, Bernie, she said, staring out of the passenger side window at the twee little whitewashed cottage. I'm not sure I'm doing the right thing, going to see a psychic. Look, love, why don't you at the very least give it a shot, said Bernie, encouragingly patting his wife on the knee. If you don't want to do it for yourself, then do it for me. Very well. Wish me luck. I don't think you're going to need it, love. I'm quite sure everything's going to be absolutely fine. Jackie reluctantly climbed out of the car, closing the door behind her. Remember, love, I'm waiting for you in the car, Bernie called after her. Jackie gingerly opened the little white wicker gate. She trotted down the cobbled path that led to the wraparound porch that generously hugged the front side of the whitewashed cottage. It was an old cottage, but there was something so charming about it. Some wind chimes attached to the branches of a small tree close to the cottage were swinging furiously in the cool breeze, letting out a beautiful musical trill. As Jackie stepped out onto the porch, she observed 4 Adirondack chairs surrounding a very large walnut table. The table was covered in a selection of bird books. There were so many of them, along with a pair of binoculars. So Merrill Franchester, the psychic medium, was obviously a very keen bird watcher. So she was human after all, which was a very good sign. On the porch there was an upholstered double-seater swing chair, where a marmalade cat was lying fast asleep, curled up in a ball. The cat suddenly looked up. When he heard Jackie's approach, his yellow eyes appeared to fix on her curiously. The cat was rather beautiful, reminding Jackie of a cat her parents had once owned when she was growing up as a girl. "Oh, you are so lovely, aren't you lovely?" said Jackie, moving over to the cat and rubbing his extended belly, which was rather on the tubby side. The cat began to purr. "Oh, my dear, you've made Ginger a very happy cat. I think he's rather taken to you. You've got him in his soft spot. He absolutely adores having his tummy scratched," came a woman's voice, and Jackie turned around to look at the lady standing outside the screen door. "You must be Jackie Peterson," said the woman, smiling warmly at Jackie and extending her rather weathered, veiny hand. "I've been expecting you. You're right on time, which I really appreciate." Jackie shook the medium's hand, and the woman smiled at Jackie through cornflower blue eyes that were startlingly exactly the same colour as little Lily's eyes had been when she was alive. "I'm Merrill Franchester," said the woman. "I'm very delighted you've come. Can I call you Jackie, or would you prefer me to call you Mrs. Peterson?" "Jackie will be fine," said Jackie. "Please come in, will you, Jackie?" she said, beckoning for Jackie to follow her through the screen door, which she did. The cottage was sumptuously cosy and warmly welcoming. The furnishings were really beautiful, and everything was spick and span, without a speck of dust anywhere. Merrill was not what Jackie would have envisaged a psychic medium to be like. In her mind's eye she had believed the woman would look like a gypsy, who lived in a run-down shack of a trailer home, where everything would smell of mildew and of damp, and the woman would wear a crocheted shawl over her head and hundreds of bracelets on her wrists. But Merrill was not like a gypsy. She was a typical all-American housewife. Jackie guessed she was in her late 60s, or possibly even early 70s. She had very white hair that was cut in an avant-garde pixie hairstyle that accentuated her small face that was quite heavily wrinkled, but her eyes were incredibly kind. The woman was wearing regular white pants and a purple long-sleeved sweater, along with a choker chain of rather glamorous pearls around her neck. She smelt of talcum powder and lavender soap. Jackie felt completely comfortable in the medium's presence, which was a monumental relief. "Please take a seat, Jackie, will you? Just opposite me here on the walnut desk, on that chair over there. That's right. Now, I don't want you to tell me anything," she said, fixing her eyes steadily on Jackie. "But you have come here because someone has recently passed away. Someone very young. A child. Within the last year or so. Is that right?" Jackie nodded her head. "That's right," she said, her throat now closing up and constricting, as she tried desperately not to think about Lily. There was tears in the corner of her eyes. Could she dare to hope that Lily might come through to her with this woman? "I'm seeing a dragonfly," said the psychic. "Now that is incredibly unusual. Does that mean anything to you by any chance?" "No," said Jackie, wondering where Merrill was going with this. Oh, now I see," said the psychic. "A little girl has stepped forward. She says her name it begins with an L. Oh, she's showing me a lily flower. That must mean her name is Lily. I'm getting the name Lily. Is that right?" Jackie's mouth practically dropped open. How could the medium possibly know the name of her daughter was Lily? "She tells me she's 3 years old. If she was alive, she'd be 4 now. She's showing me how she passed. There was a dragonfly. That's why she was showing me a dragonfly. It got her attention. It got her very excited. It was flying over a body of water. It looks like a swimming pool to me. She ran straight after this dragonfly. She believed it to be a fairy. She said she loved fairies because you told her so many stories about fairies." Yes, that's true. I did, said Jackie, her whole body shaking in disbelief. Lily loved to hear stories about fairies. I made them up for her all the time, because of the legends concerning the fae. My grandfather, you see, he was from Ireland, and he knew so many stories about the fae, and when I was growing up, he told me all about them. So it was natural for me to talk about the fae to Lily. Well, your daughter says the dragonfly was so pretty she was convinced it was a fairy. She ran after it through the open gate of the pool area, because I see an open gate around the swimming pool. I see her running after the dragonfly. She tried to grab the dragonfly as it was flying over the pool. You know how dragonflies love water. She wants you to know she didn't suffer. She was very happy, and is very happy where she is. She says she's with Grandpa Paul and Grandma Angela. Does that mean anything to you? There's a white fluffy dog with her. She's carrying the dog in her arms. The thing is very, very tiny. Oh, my goodness! I can't believe this. Paul and Angela are my Irish grandparents. Paul was my grandfather that would talk all about the fae to me. And many of the stories he told me, well, I exaggerated slightly and told them to my daughter. They had a tiny dog. I think it was a miniature Maltese called Lancelot, if I'm not wrong. I think I remember it being called Lancelot. They loved that dog so very much. How could you possibly know all this? I'm only telling you what I'm seeing, said Merrill, handing Jackie some tissues to blow her nose and wipe away her tears. It's very good to have a cry, dear. Let it all out. Don't be embarrassed. Your daughter Lily is telling me that she is not very happy at the moment. She says you blame yourself for what happened to her, and that grieves her greatly. But it's my fault, said Jackie insistently. If it wasn't for me, my daughter would not be dead. How could I not blame myself for that? I accidentally left the pool gate open, and if I hadn't done that, my daughter would still be alive. Lily is telling me you mustn't blame yourself. She says it was her time to go. She says that no matter what you might have done, she was still meant to exit this life very early. She's very mature for a 3-year-old girl, I might tell you. A very bright thing, and a pretty thing too. I can see her heart-shaped face, her blue eyes, and blonde ringlets. Jackie stared at the psychic medium through confounded eyes. You've just described my Lily to me. She has a heart-shaped face, blue eyes exactly like yours, and blonde ringlets. But why? It doesn't make any sense. Why would a 3-year-old need to exit this life early? It's the cruelest thing for any parent to have to go through. Your grandfather is stepping forward. He's telling me, Jackie, that it was Lily's time to cross over, so no one was to blame for the accident. He was waiting for her when she crossed over to the other side. She was not alone, not even for a second. When people cross over to the other side, there is always someone they know who has crossed over waiting for them, because when they don't know they're dead, they need to be informed that they have passed. Our spiritual body is like a glove that fits inside the physical body. Your daughter is very happy where she is, and your grandfather is telling me he will take good care of her for you until you come over to the other side. He says stop blaming yourself for what happened, because there are no accidents in this world. He said everything is as it is meant to be. He's most insistent about this. He says you will have another child very soon. A little girl, I believe, is coming into your life. I'm losing him. They're both going away. I'm sorry, I've lost the connection. When Jackie had said her goodbyes to the kind psychic medium, she sat in the passenger side seat next to Bernie and stared out of the window. Well, said Bernie, how did it go? You're being awfully quiet. Was it an absolute disaster?" "It was absolutely extraordinary," said Jackie, staring out of the windscreen window. She turned to look at Bernie directly. "That woman connected with our Lily. I know she did. She wasn't a charlatan." "She did?" Bernie asked. "What did she say?" "She said that Lily was with my grandparents and their little Maltese poodle Lancelot. She said it wasn't my fault that Lily had died. She said it was her time to go. I got the impression that if it wasn't the swimming pool accident that occurred, that Lily would have died some other way. She was meant to go. She was only meant to be here for a very short time. I was informed that there are no accidents, that everything is the way it is meant to be. Lily talked about the fairy stories I would share with her all the time. No one could have known that." "Good Lord," said Bernie. "You were hearing from Lily for sure. You always made up stories about fairies to her. She loved talking about fairies all the time. You started talking about fairies because your grandfather from Ireland never shut up about the fae, did he? He was most insistent they were real. You got so much pleasure listening to his stories as a girl, so you decided to make fairy stories up for little Lily to enjoy. I would listen to you telling them to her, and her eyes would be so wide she'd hang on to every single word. How absolutely extraordinary that the medium should pick up on all of this. Who would have thought it? The mind boggles." "That is why she died, Bernie. The swimming pool gate was left open, and our little girl chased after a dragonfly. She thought the dragonfly was a fairy and got terribly excited. The dragonfly was gliding over the water as they always do. You know how they, glide over the water with their wings spread out. Well, our little girl reached out to grab the dragonfly. She wanted to catch it with her hands, and in doing so she fell straight into the water. She said she felt no pain. One moment she was literally in the pool, and the next she was with my grandfather. Apparently he was waiting for her to take her to the other side. They knew it was her time to go, and my grandfather told me not to worry, that he was watching over our Lily." Bernie was silent for a brief moment. He scratched his head very thoughtfully. "I can see why a child would believe a dragonfly was a fairy. At that age it would be easy to believe that. They're very ethereal, aren't they? Aren't you glad you visited the medium? Do you feel any better?" "Oh, I feel so much better, Bernie. I'm so glad you persuaded me to go. I was very against it. I thought it was wrong to go and see a medium. And even if it is, I don't care. I do feel so much better, as if a weight has been lifted off my mind. When the medium said that our daughter told her it was her time to go, and that she was happy where she was, I felt immense relief. It was as if a massive burden of guilt had been lifted off me. I did, of course, try to ask the medium to find out why our little girl had to leave when she did, but I wasn't given any answers about that. When my grandfather came forward, he said he would be looking after Lily, and then he also affirmed that she was meant to be on the other side. That was made profoundly clear to me." "Well, maybe you weren't meant to know why our daughter's life was cut short," said Bernie. "But if I was to wage a bet, I would say that some of life's greatest lessons come through tragedy, and sometimes we have to hurt a great deal to grow. I know it seems incredibly cruel and very unfair, but sometimes life is exactly like that. How can we possibly be empathetic towards anyone if we ourselves have not been through grief? It is when we've gone through tumultuous challenges that we are able to understand and appreciate true compassion. Think about it." "Well, if what you say is true, Bernie, losing Lily, if that was supposed to be some kind of life lesson, all I can say is that really, really sucks. Surely there are easier ways for people to learn compassion. Losing Lily was the worst thing that has ever happened to me. And if I'm supposed to learn something from that, I don't get it. I really don't. I've just learnt how to be incredibly miserable. That's what I've learnt." I know, love. Losing Lily broke our hearts. It was a cruel thing for any parent to have to endure. But we're not alone. There are many parents out there that have lost their children at a very young age. It happens to the best of us. What else did the medium say? Well, she told me we were going to have a little girl very soon. Can you believe that? Well, didn't I tell you that we can start again to try for a family? It doesn't mean we have to forget about our Lily, but it does mean we can move forward with our lives, does it not? I'm not sure I'm ready to have another baby, Bernie. But the medium was insistent it would be soon. And given how I struggled to get pregnant with Lily, that came as a huge surprise to me. If the truth be told, I don't think I'm physically capable of falling pregnant at the moment. And I'm not sure I'm actually ready to be a mother again. Going to this medium has helped a lot, of course it has. But I can't stop thinking about little Lily. But if my late grandfather is looking after her, then she's in a good place, and I can be assured of that. Well, I think that is very reassuring. Anyway, I know Lily is always on your mind, and she is on mine too. I think of her every day. But let's just go one step at a time, shall we? That's what I say. Jackie nodded. Apparently Lily was very sad, because I was upset about her passing. That got to me, you know. I don't want to think of her being sad on the other side. It's like my grief is holding her back from being happy. Well, of course Lily would be sad if she knew her mother was not happy. If you grieve her, you're probably holding her back in the spirit realm, stopping her from being completely happy because of your grief. Maybe you should try to be happy for her sake, and for us as well, for the health of our relationship. You're right. I do have to make an effort with my life, said Jackie, sounding more determined than ever. I'm tired of being so miserably depressed all the time. It would seem that Jackie really did start to make a significant effort to be more upbeat in her life. But again, it was a work in progress for her. So there we are. That is the end of part 2 of our story tonight. Part 3 is tomorrow night, and I look forward to you joining me then. Until next time, goodbye and good night.